I've been part of some transformational change, a lot of it since the 2016 election. Over the past several years, we've taken really big steps for our state. We laid the foundation for a just transition to clean energy. We provided a path to justice for those whose constitutional rights are violated. We've made major investments in infrastructure and access to broadband throughout the state. We've made historic investments in education from pre-K to higher ed. We've protected and expanded access to the fundamental health care that New Mexicans need. We've started to strengthen and diversify our economy. We have a growing film industry and a brand new recreational cannabis industry. Making sure also that New Mexicans can benefit from this growth. Those are just a few of the highlights. And we're just getting warmed up. We have some big plans for this session. It's my pleasure to introduce our Majority Whip, Rena Sapansky, who will be sworn in shortly. She wants to clarify that.
Thank you, Madam Leader. It's so good to have you all with us today, and it's time for us to get to work for New Mexico. As many of you know, our state recorded record revenues this year. This is an opportunity, no doubt, to make transformational change and set a course for the future. We must make sure that all New Mexicans benefit from our growth, that we are making an impact that families will feel today and for generations. We are focused on putting these dollars to work for our state and for our people through smart, responsible, impactful investments in community safety, in our teachers, our schools, and our students, affordable housing and healthcare access, infrastructure, and our environment. We must also ensure that children across New Mexico have the opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive, that working families can get ahead, that our fundamental rights and freedoms are protected, and that our legislature has a structure that truly works for the people of New Mexico. I'm so proud to be a member of the House Democratic Caucus and this wonderful leadership team, and I can't wait to see what we can accomplish this session. With that, I'll turn it over to our caucus chair, Ray Lara.
Thank you, Madam Whip. I'm very honored to be here today. My name is Ray Lara. I represent House District 34 in Southern Mariana County, and I'm really, really excited to be here today. As you can see, the leaders we have on stage are incredibly diverse and talented. Plus, the people of the state of New Mexico. We also have one of the most diverse houses in the country. And I want you to know that this didn't happen by accident. It's a result of hard work by the team before you and our predecessors in order to ensure that the representatives in that chamber reflect the diversity of our whole state. Why is this important? This is important because when lawmakers accurately reflect the people of our state, it results in better policies for the people of New Mexico. We must also ensure that this progress is sustainable going forward and that it can extend to a wider legislature by bringing systems into the 21st century. We hope to make progress on doing so this session, thus allowing us to even better serve our communities and our constituents. And now, it is my pleasure and my honor to introduce our next Speaker of the House, Javier Martinez.
Thank you, Chair Lara. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. Buenos dias. My name is Javier Martinez, and I'm a state representative for District 11, which is the downtown core of Albuquerque and parts of the North Valley. I was raised in Ciudad Juarez, born in El Paso, but most of my life I lived in the international district. So Albuquerque's home. Albuquerque is a place where I'm rooted and where my family is rooted. I'm incredibly grateful to our constituents and to our colleagues for the great honor of nominating me as their next speaker. 20 years ago, I walked these halls as a young advocate, probably sat in this committee room, only to have doors shut in front of me. Maybe it was my age, maybe it was my accent, maybe it was my lack of connection. As speaker, I vow to keep doors open for all and everyone, from every walk of life, from every county, from any political affiliation. any age group, race, gender, etc. I believe in the power of people. I believe in the diversity of this state and in our ability to come together to solve problems. Democrats don't have all of the answers. I know our colleagues on the other side of the aisle have ideas as well. And I've committed to them, and I commit to the people of the state to make sure that those ideas are heard and incorporated when we can find common ground. New Mexico faces great challenges, as you know, from community safety to housing and healthcare, children and families, workers' rights, and modernizing our legislative system. Everything you'll hear about today is probably rooted in the fact that we have a 19th century legislative system for a 21st century society and economy. That is going to be one of my top priorities this year, is to elevate and uplift the work of our colleagues who have been working for more than 2 years on a set of legislative modernization proposals, including professional staffing for every legislator, paid salaries for those serving in the legislature, as well as the length of the sessions. When it comes to community safety, we have to keep addressing the issues that we know can prevent and deter crime. That includes addressing gun violence, that includes investing in law enforcement, as well as housing and in behavioral health. That means cracking down on organized retail crime, which we know is a huge problem in our communities. It also is about ensuring that the most violent and dangerous criminals are not released onto our streets prematurely. As we talk about root causes of community safety, housing and healthcare go hand in hand. Right now, far too many New Mexicans are struggling and cannot access critical resources, and that includes necessary healthcare, behavioral health, and sometimes even just a roof over their heads. We need big investments in affordable housing, in behavioral health programs, and healthcare infrastructure to ensure that our communities are safer and our families stronger. When it comes to children and families, we've been planting the seeds for generational change, and we will continue to do that through our investments in students, teachers, educators, schools, and child welfare programs. As you know, I was one of 2 co-sponsors for over 10 years on the Constitutional Amendment for Early Childhood. New Mexico is now a model for the country when it comes to how to fund and how to build a robust, equitable early childhood system. That was unimaginable even 5 years ago. We will continue to make those investments and hold those programs accountable to make sure that they are delivering the services to the children and families who need it. When it comes to workers' rights, we will continue to fight for working families across the state. They are at the heart of this economy. That is the community I come from. That is the lens through which I view my legislative service, as that of a working person. And you should know that policies that come through our committees, policies that go to the floor, will be analyzed through that lens. Lastly, I want to go back to this concept of legislative modernization. Legislative modernization is actually a bipartisan effort. It is not simply Democrats trying to give themselves a raise. This is truly about building a more equitable, more fair, more effective, and more efficient system of government for the people of New Mexico, from blue counties to red counties and everything in between. So be on the lookout for great bills. I think some of them have been pre-filed already. And we look forward to healthy, robust debate in committees, on the House floor, on the Senate, and hopefully sending a lot of these good pieces of legislation up to the governor for consideration. Thank you very much.
Yes, now for questions, I'll call on the decision. Dan?
I wanted to kind of ask, given recent developments in Albuquerque and the arrest that was made yesterday, if you could say anything kind of about the political climate for this year's session and your hopes for kind of how that plays out.
Yeah, look, it's long overdue that we lower the temperature. These are the things that can happen when rhetoric gets out of hand. I am incredibly grateful to the police department, to Mayor Keller, and to all of those who played a role in protecting our safety and ensuring that our democracy remains intact. It certainly is scary, not just from a personal perspective, but the fact that our democratic processes that we believe so much in, and that our country was founded on, would be targeted in that way.
Along the same lines,
Yeah, go ahead.
just along the same lines, do you think, are you contemplating any special protections for public officials in the judiciary and the legislature, or should that be, I don't know, just completely flat in terms of differentiating between public and publicly elected officials? Thank you.
You know, it's too early to tell, really, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's on us, the elected officials. It's on us to lower that temperature. I mean, you know, I represent a very liberal, some would say progressive district, but, you know, it's on me to not elevate that temperature and somehow provoke somebody else to raise the temperature, right? And it cuts both ways. At the end of the day, we are volunteers, right? Hence legislative modernization. And not just volunteers, but anyone who takes the plunge to participate in our democracy, to get into the process, should never have to encounter that type of violence and have that kind of fear.
Anyone else? Questions?
Process question, because we were just talking to the Senate, and they decided from gavel to gavel, the first floor will be cleared, but in between, before and after, is fine for like us or anyone. So, are there any different sets for rules for the House this year, something like that?
Yes, I believe we're going to keep the first floor clear as well, to the extent that we can, for a variety of reasons, including just traffic sometimes. But, you know, we're also trying to balance that with remaining as accessible and as open as we can, right? One of the great things about our roundhouse is that anyone can and should feel free to come in and talk to their legislators.
Natalie and then Robert.
Okay, so regarding the shootings that happened in Albuquerque, court documents are revealing that there's new details about the shootings. According to a confidential witness, Solomon wanted the shootings to be more aggressive, and police say he had intent to cause harm to people in their homes. So what is your response to these new details and that he intended harm on you and others that he targeted?
I haven't seen court documents, so I can't comment.
And also, how do you feel now that the suspect has been arrested?
Relieved and ready to get down to the business of the people.
Robert?
Thanks. This is a broader question, not tied to the shootings, but it is about crime. We all hear that we're all fed up with it. I know you've said that as well, sir. What are we going to see in terms of House Democrat proposals regarding addressing the issue of crime? Might they be tied to both stricter penalties and perhaps support for the wraparound services? We hear a lot about behavioral support, mental support, drug abuse support. And do you foresee working well with House Republicans who clearly care about this issue and often have different legislation than you all have?
Yeah, great question. And any of my colleagues want to jump in. I don't want to hog the conversation here. I can tell you right off the bat, there's at least a couple of pretty proactive public safety bills, including the one on organized retail crime that you'll be seeing. Some of these bills have bipartisan support. Of course, investments, continued investments, and not just investments, but ensuring the delivery of quality services for people, behavioral health and otherwise are critically important. And then gun safety. I mean, we know that gun safety continues to be an issue, right? And there is no silver bullet, right? And that's something that you'll hear me say a lot this session and beyond. There's not one silver bullet that is going to solve the public safety problem. It's got to be an all-hands-on-deck approach, and it's got to be a well-thought-out approach to ensure that our communities can be safer. And if any of my colleagues want to chime in, please go ahead.
Sean, and what's your... Brittany from KRQE. Brittany, chime in.
Regarding modernization, curious to understand, ahead of the shooting in Albuquerque, was there any discussion about providing any type of off-site security for legislators, security detail, or any type of measures that would provide them more security? And following the shooting, have there been any further discussions about possibly making that inclusive in any type of legislation, resulting in pay or modernizing the legislator?
The short answer is no. And I don't think anyone envisioned our own safety and security, really. I've been here 8 years. You know, I've gotten the nasty email. I've gotten the nasty letter through the mail, but nothing that I would worry about. Now I think it might be something to think about, but the short answer is no.
And Brittany?
Brittany from KOG. Given the massive revenue, what does responsible spending look like for you guys? Savings, one-time big capital projects. Can you just kind of give an overview on revenue?
Yeah, over the last few years, as we've experienced these record revenues, a great deal of credit to my soon-to-be predecessor and his team for planning for the rainy day, right? And so, as you know, we have not only record revenues but also historic levels of reserves, both operational reserves but also the rainy day fund, which is also known as the tax stabilization fund, as well as a number of other funds that have been created. I know that in the Legislative Finance Committee proposal budget this year, there are also proposals to create more of these types of funds that can yield revenues into the future. I feel very confident that the steady growth of the budget over the last few years is not only responsible and sound, fiscally sound, but it is also very tempered in the in terms of not overspending. Now, I will tell you, you'll hear me say this again and again as well. It's not just about increasing budgets, it's about ensuring that services are being delivered to the people who need them. So and I think I can speak for all of us, we feel comfortable with the budget proposals that we've seen so far. Obviously, the hard work begins today at noon in terms of negotiating between the fourth floor, the Senate and the House finance committees. But we're very much looking forward to it because that's what the people elected us to do.
We've got time for one more question. Is there anyone who hasn't asked that wants to go? I saw Sean. Sean and Robert, if you both make it quickly.
Regarding reproductive rights abortion care, we've seen the two proposals that are looking to provide the governor's executive orders into state statute or as an act. But can you discuss any further elements that the House is going to do to provide either meeting the capacity demands by providing more services for providers, just overall capacity when it comes to abortion and reproductive rights? What other efforts are we going to see besides the two we've seen so far?
I think you'll see that reflected in the budget as well. Building that capacity is critical, and it's not just in the immediate, but it's in the long term. We have a shortage in terms of access to healthcare in general, and also in reproductive healthcare. So you'll see that in the budget as well. And Madam Leader, I don't know if you want to comment on that or whip.
Yeah, Sean, I think it's a huge issue facing the state for healthcare of all kinds, but particularly reproductive healthcare. New Mexico will continue to be a beacon for healthcare services for the country, and we need to be ready to meet that role. So I think in terms of the budget, in terms of reimbursement rates, I think in terms of all of the above, you'll see a lot of activity in that.
And then Robert, final question.
Thanks. Public education questions, or any of you to answer. 4.5 years since the Yazzie Martinez ruling, I think. I know that Yazzie Martinez remains, on your minds as we go forward. What sort of House public education initiatives are we going to see to help our school system, which I've covered it for over 10 years, has always been near the bottom and still is. So take that wherever you want, any one of you, please.
So
Thank
Chair Lara is our education resident-in-chief of the leadership team, so I'm going to have him tackle that one.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that question. So there are several initiatives that are coming down the pipe regarding improving education in New Mexico. The first one is the governor's initiative to extend the school year at additional days. We're also looking at increasing teacher salaries. We're also looking at increasing public school employees' health insurance. The governor had mentioned the 100% for health care insurance for public school employees. That is a huge plus, because that way we can keep and retain quality educators in the city of New Mexico, because this way they'll be able to take home more pay, and that's really important. Happy teachers, happy kids. So if we have happy staff working and good people invested in our classrooms, then our kids will succeed. Then we'll be able to work and get to the goal of making sure that not one of our New Mexico children get left behind, and that they all get the education that they deserve.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you all for hosting this. Thanks for taking the question.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.